Hello, it's me again, Mike, tracked lifting of Syosset, Long Island. What I will present now is an overview of our AMI line. This is a compact line, unlike our ultra-compact line of platform basket, which I had the pleasure of demonstrating an hour ago. Compact applies to the fact that this machine is, the whole range actually is 3 feet 8 inches wide, allowing a passage through 4-foot doors. The machines vary from 6 foot 6 inch height to 7 feet 3 inches height. What AMI line does, it takes the concept of a atrium lift pioneered by Folk Schmidt, Denka, to the next level. It has the same capabilities, or rather very similar capabilities, but hybridizes those for a general use, indoor and outdoor use. A machine like that will be able to get into very confined spaces through a 4-foot door, perform a variety of indoor maintenance construction tasks just like an atrium lift, but then it has the capability of going into areas of severely sloped terrain and very diverse, otherwise delicate surfaces that no atrium lift can. As I mentioned with our previous brand, the machine combines narrow access, extremely low impact with the tracked undercarriage, an ability to traverse and deploy in an extremely sloped, terraced, stepped up, stepped down terrain. We went over that with the previous brands. I'm not going to go into that again. AMI lifts are true hybrids, true self-contained hybrids. Just as you would expect with a hybrid vehicle machine, there is an internal combustion engine. In this case, this is a Kubota diesel, current tier emission Kubota diesel. This engine amply powers all the hydraulic functions. At the same time, it recharges the batteries. The second operating system, as with all true hybrids, will be powered by a battery system. This machine utilizes either 4 or 8 6-volt batteries. The two systems are fully redundant and independent. Each of those systems, hydraulic systems, either the diesel-powered or battery-powered, has its own hydraulic pump. In case of a pump failure, the machine will be still fully operational. An average aerial use of the boom varies between 3 and 6 hours if there is no source of recharge. When a machine like that is used indoors, after 6 hours of aerial operation, when all the batteries are depleted, you have an option of just turning the diesel engine on, which will operate the machine while recharging the batteries, or if that option is not available, just like with the previous machine, the Skeiko, Denka, Folk Schmidt Worldlift machine, you can plug it into the source of 110 and continuously use on battery power. When indoor application is the predominant mode, we equip these machines with 8 batteries, which extend the life of the batteries, but also, more importantly, we install 2 hydraulic drive motors, which make the machine drive on tracks just as fast under battery power as it does under diesel power. The indoor version will be just as torquey to climb staircases and heavy inclines as the machine under diesel power. And that's truly unique among lifts of that type. Another very significant difference and feature in itself of AMI equipment is the design of the boom. If you look closely at the boom, and I will open it fully, the boom is extremely clean, with nearly no external components and protrusions. There are no hose reels, no external hoses, no hose brackets. More importantly, the main telescopic extension cylinder and lift cylinder are located underneath the boom, where they are fully protected from falling objects and from different materials that an operator might be applying, such as paint, stucco, concrete. Again, accumulation of those on exposed cylinders might cause damage, pistons might cause damage when they are retracted. And also having the vital hydraulic components protected by the boom increases greatly the safety of the machine. For example, the main holding valve is underneath the boom, where it's fully protected. The boom does not need to be greased, does not need to be disassembled for wear pad changes. Most of other equipment will require at certain time interval a complete boom disassembly to change wear pads on which telescopic sections glide. These are here external for adjustment and replacement. The booms are not greased, which means that particles such as sawdust, concrete dust, does not stick to the boom, degrading their performance and gunking up the boom. The entire range shares the tower and the undercarriage, as well as the Outrigger system. Our entire range of AMI machines from 76 to 88 to 102 to 122 foot working height will have an identical undercarriage from this height down. So once you see the undercarriage, you will know how it will look on every other AMI machine. The Outriggers might be beefed up on heavier machines, but they will look identical and they will have the same characteristics of deployment width, deployment angle, and deployment height. One of the characteristics, optional equipment actually, is a variable width undercarriage. For passage through narrow doors, the machine is 3 feet 8 inches wide. But for uneven or side slope traversing outdoors, we want a wider machine. A wider machine will hug a slope much better, will be less likely to tip over while driving. To achieve that, I will demonstrate later how the track opens up to the width of 5 feet from the narrowest 3/8. The Outriggers have several positions which will allow this machine to deploy in varied confined spaces. This is the wide setting. But if the space does not allow it, the Outriggers can be deployed in a narrow setting. What I will do for the purpose of demonstration, I will deploy one side narrow, one side wide. The trouble length of the piston as well as this angle of the outrigger allow deployment on severely terraced or sloped terrain up to 40%, which is truly unique with this range of equipment. It can be a wall 3 feet high, could be a terrace 3 feet below, or could be a 40% inclined slope, and this machine will deploy. Again, for the reliability of deployment, we do not use automatic deployment of the outriggers. It's all manual. But again, safeties are built in to prevent operation of the boom should there not be ground pressure under the outrigger, or should the machine not be within 2 degrees of being perfectly level. There are additional safeties, such as a lock for the turret, the lock of the boom to the turret. This has to be unlocked. The travel lock has to be unlocked. So several factors have to be satisfied for the machine to operate. Outriggers have to meet the ground, the machine has to be within 2 degrees, and the travel lock has to be opened. That prevents accidental deployment of the boom, unsafe boom deployment. And all that is achieved with absolutely minimal electronic interface. This is a very simple electric over hydraulic machine. Basic operation happens with joysticks, which electrically open hydraulic valves. That is governed by relays. Relays, if burnt out, can be replaced in a matter of seconds or can be swapped between functions. There is no circuit board, central circuit board that integrates all these relays. Everything is separate, easy to diagnose with diodes, visual displays of what's working, what's not working. That allows distribution of these machines throughout the country without specialized service centers. Most of problems are simply resolved over the phone by a mechanic who has just basic knowledge of hydraulics. Lawnmower mechanic, power equipment mechanic is enough to diagnose most of the problems on these machines. The work envelope is governed by the weight in the basket and the angle, and that is resolved by mechanical means. There is a rod that deflects, rod located on top of the boom that deflects with the deflection of the boom. Should that rod achieve maximum deflection, the machine stops its normal operation and allows operation that will bring the boom closer to the center of gravity, which is either boom up or telescope in, until the maximum moment or the deflection of the rod on top of the boom goes back to normal operation, to the safe mode. But again, that prevents use of electronic devices that govern that. Also, ground pressure is maintained at all times for all outriggers. The safety system does not depend on diminished ground pressure in the outriggers. We feel it's much safer to maintain solid ground pressure at all 4 outriggers during the entire operation. We feel that allowing the machine to diminish ground pressure puts the machine at the risk of turning over. I will deploy the machine again with one set of outriggers in a narrow position and one set of outriggers in the wide position. I will also demonstrate the variable width undercarriage. The outrigger pads lock for transport, which is very minor, seemingly unimportant detail, but very important when you're traveling long distances. The machine comes with a set of plastic outrigger pads, which should be used when the machine is deployed on very delicate marble, polished marble, wood parquet surfaces where using steel is not an option. They insert very easily and lock in a matter of seconds. They shouldn't be used, of course, on coarse outdoor surfaces. Grit gets embedded and makes them useless on the indoor surfaces. Another small detail of the Outrigger design system, and I want to mention these small details because a lot of engineering and thought went into design of this machine to minimize problems and little problems with other machines. For example, the fact that this Outrigger pad is pinned through an oval hole will allow the outrigger to travel this, through this oval hole before the whole outrigger slides and scratch a surface, a delicate surface. And I will, please take a look closely as the outrigger meets the ground and as the machine lifts, there is no movement of the outrigger pad. Again, should this be a polished marble, we don't want these to slide, even if they're plastic. The deployment is as quick as this. I'm ready to go. I will show the workings of the variable width undercarriage. That increases the width of the machine, making it significantly more stable when traversing very rugged or side slope terrain, but again prevents passage through a narrow door. I will have to repeat the process. As being just a salesman, I have not locked in one of the locking pins. Machine is telling me that there is a diode displayed and I cannot deploy the boom because I forgot, again, to lock one of the bolts that keep the outriggers in. I have demonstrated the use of the jib. Another very unique characteristic of this machine is that this machine does not have hose bundles running through multiple telescopic sections. The significance of that is this. Multiple hoses running through the telescopic sections, which each cycle will open and fold, and eventually crack, break, and require maintenance. Very time-consuming and expensive maintenance of this assembly of the boom. This jib has a small self-contained hydraulic system, an oil reservoir, a pump, and a battery system, which is recharged by the machine. And again, the significance of that is that hose bundles are eliminated from the boom. I will deploy the machine. I will show the characteristics of this telescopic boom. The boom, of course, will go up, will telescope out. I do not have the control of the jib from the ground station. Jib can only be operated from within the basket. This machine has been equipped for an arborist. It has a one-man basket. A two-man basket would be much wider, needless to say, and also would have rotation. For tree care with a narrow basket, this is not required, so I cannot demonstrate that function here. This again unlocks the turret from being locked to the undercarriage. This is the last step that must be undertaken to allow aerial operation. Please observe the relative quickness of aerial operation under electric power. And that is proportional. I can slow it down to a complete crawl or speed it up. This is the maximum outreach at this height with this weight in the basket, which is no weight. There is basically an infinite amount of settings depending on the weight in the basket. The more weight, the less side reach. And again, that is governed by a mechanical system, no electronics. We do uniquely have an articulated machine. Actually, not uniquely. The only other example is the machine that you just saw before this one. The same boom is mounted on a scissor-type lift, scissor-type lower boom, which allows zero swing deployment. The significance of that is that the basket will rise at same distance from a vertical wall. So if you're cleaning a delicate glass building, you can slide with great confidence, constant distance away from that wall without needing to make adjustments. But again, this is a different version of this undercarriage, not here today, unfortunately. The same undercarriage, as I mentioned, will accommodate this machine, which is the smallest in the range. This is a 76-foot machine. Section slightly enlarged, telescopic section slightly enlarged, will create an 88-foot boom, a 102-foot boom, or a 122-foot boom. But all other characteristics are identical. Basically, we can get a 122-foot working height machine through a 4-foot door, through a delicate atrium, lined up, floored with polished marble, wood parquet, and allow a variety of indoor maintenance, construction applications, as well as anything that needs to be done outdoors, also on delicate, varied terrain situations. This unit is our lightest machine, weighs 6,700 pounds. Although it does have the optional variable width undercarriage, which increases the weight to 7,300 pounds.
What's the price for this unit?
It's under 130,000. Another very, very important factor is that Army lifts, every Army lift can be transported behind a pickup truck. Again, this enormous work envelope of 122 feet can be transported to a job site by just about anybody with a heavy-duty pickup truck. Just as a last, somewhat unrelated issue, I will mention that the same booms are mounted on a single axle trailers, allowing for even lighter, less expensive mode of transportation. The tracked undercarriage is eliminated, a single axle trailer is created, not unlike many other units that will be viewed here tomorrow. Nevertheless, the unique thing about Army trailer lifts is the fact that they go all the way to 95-foot working height. And unless there are questions, I think it's the commonality of the boom. The same boom from a telescopic range can be mounted on a single axle trailer.
Just talking about the previous, you said that all the Omni machines can sit on the same undercarriage.
Yeah, actually they will look almost identical. This might slightly vary. Actually, the undercarriage from the machine that you saw before, the Falcon, is put on our heavier machines. The lighter machines have this undercarriage. The Outriggers will look the same. The undercarriage, the engine compartment, the turret, everything will look identical.
So same design, but not interchangeable.
Not interchangeable. Just if you know the characteristics of one undercarriage, you know it for the whole range. One last mention is that the biodegradable, extremely low weight, 22 weight hydraulic oil is standard on this machine. In this range, underneath the shield on top of the boom, there is a metal rod. As you know, the boom will slightly deflect the further you go, like a fishing rod. So will the rod on top of the boom. The further you go, the more it will deflect. The deflection of that rod is designed so at the maximum preset deflection, it will create a contact with the limit switch, a simple electromechanical limit switch. And once that is achieved, motion of the boom that will take you further away from the center of rotation will be restricted. Only movements of the boom that will bring you closer to the center of rotation will be allowed. Those two movements will be telescope in or boom up. One more mention, these machines are made out of structural steel, again eliminating the fatigue factor of aluminum, and also most pivot points are greasable, which makes these machines, gives these machines almost indefinite lifespan. They might go through engines, through pumps, through hoses, but the frame is as solid 10 years down the road as it is the first day it was produced. And again, the main distinguishing characteristic is the cleanness of how cleanly the boom is designed, without external components, without hose reels, without external hoses, without brackets, and with the main hydraulic cylinders and pistons located underneath the boom. Lack of greasing, not needing to disassemble the boom for wear pad adjustments, and lack of hose bundles running through the telescopic sections, minimizing the maintenance cost down the road. Very well. Thank you.